Hi, welcome back to All Poppies. I'm Fiona, and this channel is all about offering you practical wisdom to help you live your life in full bloom. In this episode, we are revisiting our favorite topic of dating and relationships. And specifically, today we are going to talk about the concept of the list and why lists don't work and why they're not working for you. So, first, let's define what we mean by the list. I'm sure it doesn't need much of an explanation because it is so commonplace. But basically, what we're talking about here is the wish list of attributes and qualities that people have a tendency to create when they're on the search for a partner. Now, there's three problems with making a list. The problem is not necessarily the idea of making a list in and of itself. It's rather what people tend to do when they make a list, how they're using this potentially helpful device of a list to clarify what one is looking for. So the first common error people make is they list out the qualities of a unicorn. So this could be a short list, but with such rare qualities or such a rare combination. For example, the guy who's 6'5" with blue eyes with a hedge fund who works in finance, as an example. Or it could be a laundry list of very specific attributes. Everything from the multiple sports that he plays, the multiple languages that he speaks, getting along with one's younger sister, being a fantastic cook, all kinds of things. It can go on. You end up sort of having this long list as long as one's arm. And so the problem with this approach, either approach, is that there are likely very few people who actually have those attributes. And then when you overlay the other components which are helpful, such as being emotionally and relationally available and geographically convenient, one tends to narrow down one's lens quite a lot. So that's the first problem. So the answer here is very simple. It is to relax one's requirements to be a little more realistic about humans who are generally imperfect. And when it comes to having the long list, I would suggest think about it like a job description. You will always see in a job description, here are the absolute essential qualities or experience sets that we need, and here are some nice to haves. So get really clear with yourself. Is this quality a deal breaker? Does it matter if he doesn't speak Portuguese and Spanish and German and Mandarin? Maybe, but likely not. But what does really matter? What are the core non-negotiable attributes? And make sure that you kind of just focus on those. And that's the first piece. The second challenge that happens often with making lists is that the qualities people tend to put on their list tend to over-index on extrinsic, the packaging, what someone looks like on the outside, what someone looks like based on their CV. And that only serves to give you a heuristic for maybe some of the intrinsic qualities, which are really what matters more. So you might think, oh, he's got to have X number of degrees with X level of sort of seniority from X quality of universities. But that's an extrinsic quality which we use as heuristic usually to indicate something else, an intrinsic quality such as he is intelligent, he's curious, he is, or she, she is motivated, and she is, has a dynamic mind. So the challenge, of course, is that these dating apps that have become so commonplace and infiltrated this dating culture end up just perpetuating a focus on these extrinsic things, which one can look at on a profile and swipe left, swipe right very quickly. It's much harder to demonstrate in that format, or even in sort of a quick initial conversation at a bar, at a party, at an event, those sort of more important intrinsic qualities. And ultimately, those are the ones which are going to matter the most because those are ultimately what create the foundation for the connection that you have with someone. And this is the other challenge with just looking at the extrinsic qualities of a person as an individual. Ultimately, one should be thinking about the qualities that one wants in a relationship as a dynamic, sort of as a pair. How do you want to feel? How do you want to engage with one another? What kind of interactions and experiences do you want to have with one another? And again, that's not easily gauged from a dating app or an initial conversation. So I would be wary of making lists which look like CVs or biomarkers, and push yourself to think more critically about, well, why is that important to me actually? What is sort of the intrinsic underlying essence and quality and the content of the character that's important to me in this dimension? And how might I otherwise gauge that? And the last thing which I want to double click on, the biggest challenge I see with people making lists is that most people make the list and direct it at the person that they are then assessing. So it's very external facing, and it's very much coming from a place of judgment of others. So someone makes the list of all these qualities that they need in their partner, and then they go out and search for someone who matches that list. The thing is that often these lists are quite aspirational, and they are kind of the wave a magic wand ideal scenario. And the reality is that when someone comes to me and says, I don't know what's going on, I keep attracting people like X, Y, and Z, where are the people who are like A, B, and C? I can't seem to find anyone who sort of matches what I'm looking for. And the potentially hard to hear truth is that we attract people who are our equals. We attract people who are a match for us energetically, for people who are a match for how we are showing up at this particular moment in our lives. And so I always suggest to people gently and softly that if your experience is that you have a list of qualities that are important to you, such as I want my partner to be thoughtful, curious, reliable, mature, generous, but I keep going on these dates for all these guys who are flaky and they're stingy and they're totally self-centered in the conversation and they're not even that interesting, they don't have much to say, then I would get you to reflect on that list and look at these qualities and then hold that list up against yourself and be honest, be kind, don't throw judgment, don't throw blame. Know that we are all works in progress who are malleable at any point in time, but use this exercise to build a little more self-awareness. And if you look at that list, check off for yourself which of these qualities are you bringing to the table? Which of these qualities do you already embody? So if you want someone who is fit and takes good care of their body, are you taking care of your body? Are you working out in a disciplined way, minding what you eat, getting plenty of hydration, limiting the alcohol and the cigarettes and so forth? Yeah, yes or no. If you want someone who is a great conversationalist and has interesting things to say and interesting topics to bring to the table, well, what are you bringing to the conversation? Would you mark yourself as a fantastic conversationalist and raconteur? And so it goes on. You want someone who's generous. Well, are you showing up in your life as generous? And it's not just in the context of dating and with this other person. It's in the context of life. Are you being generous with your friends, with your family, generous with your energy, your love, your patience, your time, your money? These intrinsic qualities can actually manifest in a myriad of ways. But ultimately, what you want to ask yourself is, am I currently embodying this quality that I'm looking for in my partner? And until you are a match, you're not going to find that match. So take that list and turn it on yourself. Take the focus of searching for the person who's worth finding and turn it back on figuring out how can you become the person who is worth finding. And the magical thing is that when you do step into that larger, bigger, better, more expanded version of yourself who embodies all of those qualities that you know you are going to value in your partner, then the search kind of takes care of itself. That's when you become a different vibration. You start energetically showing up in the world at a different frequency, and that just almost magically will end up magnetizing other people who are a match for that. So that is the homework. And if you're stuck on this and you are not sure how to sort of make a plan of action, so let's say you do the list and you sit with yourself and you realize, I've got 10 qualities here which really matter. If I'm being honest with myself, I'm massively lacking on 3 of them. Your next task is to figure out how to make that gap close. Figure out a plan and then make the decision and go execute. And sometimes this is where it's helpful to have an accountability coach, whether that's a friend who's also in this phase of life and looking for this, a friend who knows you well, who can give you some tough love, or join you in your aspirations to improve on whatever dimension it is. Maybe it's learning how to cook. Maybe it's taking up a new course to sort of build your hobbies. Maybe it's being more proactive about how you spend your weekends and cultivate community. But if you're stuck on a plan, know that at All Poppies, we also offer coaching services, either one-on-one or in groups. And we are always happy to help clients in their journey in whatever dimension of life is most important to them. So we are always here as an additional resource for you, but you don't need us to get going on this self-assessment thing. Beware the lists and be aware of yourself. And this, I'm sure, will be a massive step forward in terms of your experience of finding people and attracting people who are more of a match for what you are looking for in your partner. I would love to hear your thoughts on this. I would love to hear your experiences of making lists, using lists. And of course, if you do go forward and you try this exercise, I would love to hear about your results and your success stories. Feel free to leave comments in the link below, and we will send you some new content in the coming weeks. Take care.